All right, Kenman here, and today we have Customization Station. KDK train is about to pull out. We are doing die project number 62 today. We have the Efengro EF223. I actually got one of these from Jimmy Crow and used it for a giveaway for my 5K, I think it was. We can go back and check on that. But he did a really cool custom. He acid etched the blade with these kind of brick kind of pattern, almost like a rock wall pattern, and then did a two-tone dye where he dyed it kind of green and then sanded the edges, which made it bring out the brown underneath, which is really cool. This is a $20 knife on Amazon right now. If you're looking for just a simple, fun little knife to mess around with, excuse me, maybe do a custom, this might be up your alley. 20 bucks. You got D2 and G10. Solid little knife. You can flick it out if you give it a little oomph with your finger there. Other than that, it is a flipper tab only, but the action, this thing drops shut really nice. It's a solid blade, no play, and it is centered quite nicely. We're going to try to get it just like that when we're done. Okay, so we'll take our last looks. This is actually, Gabe won this for the 7K giveaway, and he got to choose the customization, and one of my lights just went out. That's half the fun. That means it's dead. I can't make it brighter. Maybe I can. Here we are. We're live. I'm not going to edit this. We're just going to let it be. We have a live studio audience with me today. Comment below if you were there. Okay, so last looks. Nice brown, kind of tan. Now, when we do a dye, you're pretty much stuck. You can't really take away the brown. And if I were to try to make this red, it's going to be the red dye mixed with this brown. So you can never actually get rid of that. You only can use it to affect it more. So if I wanted a nice bright red, it's not really going to work. It's going to definitely be more of a maroon because those colors have mixed. Okay, let's set our table for success. I don't have all my utensils with me today. We'll just do a small set. Dinner is served. We are going to time lapse the teardown section here. So basically, we'll whip through that, kind of speed up to that, and then we'll get on to the actual dye process and the customization. All right, here we go. All right, that was easy. We got this thing all taken apart. Should be real good to go. Straightforward dye and customization. These look pretty clean. We're going to take them to the sink. We're going to wash them off, get any residue off there, get them ready for the dye, and get to that next step. And away we oosh. All right, we are here. I have the scales on these hooks. I have the dye all heated up, and we're ready to go. It's just under boiling, so just hot enough here. You can have it boiling, but not as necessary. What I'm going to do is splash them around in there, make sure there aren't any big air bubbles on them, and then lay them in, and we're going to let them sit. The reason you want to get the air bubble off is, imagine this is the scale. If there's an air bubble right where my hand is and it's in there dyeing, that spot isn't taking the dye. Then when we take it out, that spot will be lighter than the rest. And so then when we try to make it even, it's gonna give us trouble. So basically, getting those air bubbles off will ensure that it gives you a nice even coat, which is what we're looking for to start here. So I'm just doing a quick check. These are G10, so it takes a little longer. Notice I drip right there. Always be careful with your drips. Dye will take a while to take on the thing that you want to change that color, but anything you don't want to change that color will permanently be that way forever. So we're going to let them sit in there for a little bit. I'll show you a couple of knives that I've done in the past that we're going to kind of simulate right now today with this one. This is that Sencut HAs. So notice it was brown, similar to what we've got. And then I dyed it blue. The whole thing turned blue. And then I sanded the edges and roughed it up to reveal some of that brown back on it, which then will make it have that aged kind of weathered look. So we're going to try that today, but we're actually going to two-tone dye it. So I'm not sure exactly how it'll work, but we'll find out. let's take a little sneak peek. You never know, sometimes colors take fast, sometimes they're slow. These look like they're kind of dark, so actually what I'm going to do is we're going to take this jug of water right here, and the water will instantly neutralize the dye. So I'm going to put them in there, we can kind of see what we're looking at, because when I take them out and look right now, the dye is very thick on there. It's like syrup. So you're not really revealing what it actually is. It's going to look darker than they are. So I'm going to go out into here real quick, give them a rinse, and you can see they're not really blue, they're kind of dark brown. So not long enough. So we're going to go right back in. Do the same thing, try to make sure there's no air bubbles, even though they're wet, so there shouldn't be any. And we'll move this out of our way, and we're going to let that sit for a few minutes. I'm going to time lapse this for a little while, because it's probably going to be a few minutes, and then we'll come back and check on them. That got rolling, boiling there for a minute, but we should be getting closer to a blue here. Let's dip them in the water and kind of see what we're looking at. Wow, that is dark. That brown really is fighting us right now. It's giving us a dark brown blue vibe. That is really dark. Okay, so we are going to leave it at that. I'm going to turn this dye off. We're going to let that cool off. I'm going to take these out and get them dried off. And once they're dry, we'll be able to see what the color is a little bit more, and we can decide where we're going to go from there. Okay, we have the scales all dry. First part of the dye project is complete. We did get them blue. When they were wet, it definitely still looked brown. I know they started off tan, and you're kind of stuck with that and only can add the color to it. We used a lighter blue, but it ended up giving us this nice navy. So I think we've got something to work with what Gabe is going for or trying to get me to create for him. So now what we're doing is we're going to weather these. We're going to weather them up with some sandpaper, scuff them up, remove some of this dye and try to bring it back to the brown that it was. And then we'll be able to then dye it again in the secondary color and see if we can make it kind of help pop and change. And I don't know, this is kind of an experiment. It should be fun. So I've got a few different types of sandpapers here, some finer grits, some coarser grits. We're going to start off with kind of a medium grit and see where we go and how it looks. That's the one I want right there. So I'm going to time lapse this, so we'll go ahead and speed that up. You can kind of watch as we go in a higher speed with a little more enjoyment and a less... Shut up, Dan, just get to it. Okay. So I've sanded them up, really roughed up some edges and stuff here. I'm going to wash them off and let them dry again, and we will see how they look. Well, that turned out great. I am very happy with this. So you can see the little scuff marks we made, the little weathered edges, much lighter. I almost kind of prefer it with this two-tone like this. I put that just against the black, not my hand. You can really see the two different colors that we've got going on. But Gabe wants purple and blue, so that's what we're going to do. I guess we're rhyming as well. So we're going to go back to the kitchen and get going on that second dye. And away we... All right, we're back in the kitchen here. We've got them ready to go. I suppose they're not totally ready. I got to get them back on these hooks. And we'll try to get this second stage here. See if we can get some blue and purple, kind of a mix going on. We are not going to leave it in here very long. So we're just going to go right in and go for it. Let them go for a minute, see what we get. So same thing, we want to make sure no bubbles. A couple nice rinses. We're going to drop them in, and we're just going to wait about 1 minute here and see what happens. Please don't burn the entire place down on stream, says Knives and Pizza. For those of you who don't know, we are live streaming this right now. So while we're filming this video today, I have a live audience on the screen over there. We're having a good time playing with some knives, doing a little custom work here. This is the Concept Cryo. Listen to how snappy that is. Sorry, I'm entertaining two screens at once here. Boom, boom. All right, 1 minute. Let's neutralize this and see what it looks like. Ooh. Very interesting. We're losing the blue and it's going purple, but we are getting a two-tone, which I am kind of intrigued by, so that looks good. We're gonna let this roll for another minute here and we'll check on them. Let's see where we are at. Transfer, rinse. Wow, okay, so now we're looking at a dark purple and kind of a light purple. Very interested. I am going to turn this off. We're going to let these dry and really see what we're looking at right now and try to make some final decisions on what we're going to do here. Well, what do we think? This lighting shows it off a little bit better. Definitely got some dark blues and some purples going on. I like the kind of subtle scratches, the little accents. I really enjoy the way this kind of pops a little bit more around this edge right here. And it makes these kind of bumps stick out a little bit more. There's just enough unique qualities on these scales. If they were really plain scales, didn't have a lot of extra texture and stuff to them, none of that would really pop out like it does. I am quite happy with these. I think we're good to go on that. We can now move on to the next stage, where we're going to take all of these and acid etch them. So we're going to clear this area off. We're going to get the ferric chloride out, get these tied up, get them ready, and get to that step. And away we... Okay, I apologize. I had a little issue with some of the files on my phone. I don't have any video of the next step. We are ready to now put it back together, but I can tell you what I did is I put a resist over the moving pivot parts and then acid etched these with some ferric chloride. So you can see the before and after, they were really shiny like that, and now they've got that nice matte gray finish. And I did that to basically everything, the clip, the screws, so the heads have a little more dull of a finish. If you look on the side, I didn't get the threads. I didn't know for sure if the threads are going to be affected by that etch. I wanted to make sure they still work. So I only dipped the heads. You can see it's shiny on the side, if I can focus it. And then that darker gray on the end. And then what I did is, well, I did a resist for the pivot, obviously, right there. And then we did the acid etch, and then I stone washed the blade. So if you look here at the right angle, it's got some nice kind of tumble finish to it. I used a smaller gravel and basically rolled it around in there, and that gave a nice even kind of a stone washed look to it. What do we think? Fun stuff. Let's get this back together and get it out to Gabe. He's been waiting oh so patiently. I got sidetracked and put away from this custom for a while, but here we are. Let's get it back together. Let's get it in Gabe's hands and finish it up. All right, so let's start. It is not a captive pivot, so I think the easiest will be just to pop from this side here. At least from what I remember, it wasn't. Yeah, there's nothing on there. All right, put the bearings on there, the blade, and let's see. I'm going to go ahead and time lapse the rest of this, speed it up, and we'll get there. looking good here. I am going to add a couple of drops of some KPL down in there just to kind of help get this back going. Whenever I take a knife apart, you definitely wiping everything down. You're kind of removing all the oils and stuff. I just have this little KPL original. Put a little bit of that in there. Work it back in. And we should be good to go. All right. Boom. Blade is solid. That's what you want to make sure when you put her back together. You want to screw everything down. I screwed on the pivot tight, and then everything else gets tightened down. Then you loosen up the pivot, bring it back to center. It is centered nicely, and then you want to make sure when it's open there's no play. If there's a little bit of movement, then you want to kind of tighten it down. And then if it's so tight that it doesn't want to drop, then you can loosen it up a little bit and kind of find that sweet spot. This seems to work just fine. Flips out good, drops shut. Whoa, look at this. Okay, we can flick it out with the fuller. Little excess oil on there. Grab my dirtier rag and kind of get in there. Just get a little. It's always good just to have a little. Make sure you got enough. Oh, I like the Stonewash tumble finish. It's kind of the first attempt at that. I'm pretty happy about it. What do we think? I think it's nice and uniform. I used a small kind of a gravel, like an aquarium gravel, in a container and just rolled it around in there for a couple of minutes. And I think it looks great. Gabe, comment. What do you think? Was it worth the wait? I apologize it took so long. He won this for the giveaway. It's been a couple of months now. It's tough to get through and get all the customs and all the unboxings and everything kind of organized when I have another full-time job and stuff. I love doing this. It's great. Glad I was able to kind of get to it and get it finished. I hope he likes it. I'm going to get it shipped out to him. Thanks again for all your love of the channel. And I'm glad you won. This was for you. We got a full KDK custom in the books. I don't remember what die project this is, but we have a full die. We have a acid etch with a Stonewash blade. This is a completely different look. I'll see if I do have a before and after. I can put one right up there. Little comparison. Oh, I dig it. I'm happy with it. What do we think? Check out all the liners. Nice kind of even uniform color there throughout. And then the kind of worn, weathered kind of look I think goes all well together in here. I dig it. This is a fun little cheap knife that works well. I guess the one other thing I'm going to do is go back and resharpen the edge. You do kind of lose a little bit of the edge when you acid etch it, but we'll get that back on there, get this shipped out. What do we think? Comment below. Let me know. I know it took a little while to get done, but here's the finished product. Boom. And action is great on this thing. That is just a fun flip out, flick out. Stay sharp. We'll see you soon.